The word gave Uduak a bitter taste. On her way home, she branched into a supermarket and bought a bottle of whiskey. She gulped it down her throat and listened to the hot liquid drain down her throat to her belly. "Take me to Osangama Estate," she said to Pharaoh. He drove her to Osangama Estate, and when she got to Bishop Charisma's house, she alighted and walked to the gate. She pressed the doorbell, waiting anxiously for the security man to open the gate. When the gate finally opened, and the security guard saw that she was the one, he was surprised. It's been so long since Uduak visited Bishop Charisma. As she got into the house, she walked herself down to his bedroom. She had not forgotten the way to his bedroom. He was shocked to see her. He jumped off from the bed, and held Uduak by the hand. "I hope all is well?" he asked surprisingly. But Uduak didn't respond. She kissed him deep on the lips and suddenly broke into tears. Bishop Charisma was the youngest bishop in the state. He was 45, he was handsome, wealthy, but had no child who would take over his name. Women in his church fought for him and struggled to be in his life when he lost his wife in a fatal accident. But he'd loved just one person after his wife died, and that was Uduak. Uduak attempted kissing him again, and he responded hesitantly. "This isn't right and you know it," Charisma said and pushed her slowly away. "Is everything okay with you? You smell ethanol." Uduak began to cry aloud. She was hurt and heartbroken. She wailed, while she cried. "I should have married you and damned what my father would have thought," she said bitterly. He urged her forward. "Tell me what the problem is." "I can't say, Charis. I'm ashamed." "Did the pastor do anything to hurt you?" She nodded. "It must be a character flaw." "Worse than that," she said, sobbing softly. She stopped moving and then stripped herself naked. "The last time I had a passionate lovemaking was on my wedding eve, when you licked my skin and touched the most sensitive part of my body. You know my body, you know me more than anyone else. I have been married for 2 years, but my husband has touched me just once. Touch me, Charis. Make love to me, I want to feel your body once more." Charisma turned his head. "I can't do this. You're now someone's wife. He cheated on me too. Go back and amend your home, Uduak. You're a pastor's wife and not just an ordinary Christian. We can't do this anymore. You lured me into making love to you on your wedding night, even after he'd paid your bride price. He didn't pay a dime on my head. His father did. I don't care who did it. Go and settle scores with Inibehe Okoko. Dress up and go, before the gossip factory begins duties," he said and walked out on her. For a moment, she felt rejected by the world. She didn't know where her pride was anymore. She walked to the car staggering. Pharaoh drove her home, and when she got into her room, she didn't step out until after a few days. Uduak stopped going to church for 5 months. She told only Bishop Charisma of her husband's misconduct. And Bishop Charisma held it at heart. Inibehe only visited his house once in a while to carry his clothes and some books. He spent most of his nights with Nduke, whose stomach had started protruding. The members of the church had started asking questions of Uduak's whereabouts and why an unmarried Pastor Nduke was pregnant. Rumors of Pastor Nduke being pregnant got to Uduak one day, and she decided to resume church service the next Sunday. She decided to step into church on a Sunday morning dressed in a Swiss blouse and skirt suit. Everyone was surprised to see her. She settled down on her chair, right beside Inibehe, as she placed a kiss on his cheeks. "I have come to take what is mine," she said boldly. He gave a light smile and shook his head. The church gave a loud round of applause when Nduke walked to the podium to lead in praise and worship. Uduak watched her sternly. Fire rushed in her body as she saw Nduke's protruded tummy. The next day, which was Monday, she was going to report her to the church officials, tell them of her fornicating life, but will not expose her husband for the sake of the church. She suddenly stood up and walked to the podium too, snatched the microphone from her and pointed it at her own mouth. From today henceforth, Pastor Nduke ceases to be a pastor of Rhapsody. A female pastor of Rhapsody who isn't married should not be pregnant. You committed fornication, what will you teach our youth? She asked. The whole church yelled and clapped their hands. Tears ran out of Nduke's eyes. She walked as fast as she could out of the podium, and out of the church. Inibehe didn't run after her, but he was heartbroken and in pain. The next day, Nduke would drive to Iket, and tell her foster mother of the shame she'd caused herself, the family and the church. Episode 27. She faced him, feeling her heartbeat. A lot of people in church never knew you were pregnant. The few that knew had to find out from Uduak why you were still preaching. Tomorrow the officials will be here, to interrogate you. If anything happens, have this. He pulls a check from his laptop bag and handed to her. She collected and opened it, reading it she got amazed. Jesus! She whispered. How did you get this kind of money? It's part of the share of money I had from my mother's savings while she was still alive. I want you to leave town. I can't leave without seeing my foster mother. She might have heard this by now. I doubt. He giggled. News flies in the wind to people's ears in this state. How did Uduak find out that you were pregnant? You have to leave. Leave for Lagos, get a ticket to London. I will meet you up and we settle. You will go meet Eddie, he will take you to the house I bought in Croydon. You bought a house in Croydon? She asked shockingly. Yeah. I sold my mom's house at Romford. It was part of what I owned from her. You have to move, after the church official arrives tomorrow. I definitely know what Uduak is going to say to them. Awful things that you can't imagine. His heart fluttered when he saw tears in her eyes. Inibehe tensed. My father doesn't know anything about this yet. I am very sure he hasn't heard. News hardly gets to him. He kissed her on the forehead and hugged her tight. You're giving me a whole lot of money to elope without you. Are you sending me away? For your safety, honey. I will be with you in 1 month's time. I promise. I can't live without you. He kissed her again. My mom. SHHHHHH, if she doesn't want you I do. I am your mom, your father and soon to be a legally married husband. I owe you everything. You have gone through a lot for me. I have been under your spell. She laughed. For the first time since all of this began. She laughed heartily at her lover's sincere hearty words. She trembled even as she melted in his arms. She still felt the same emotions, feelings and tension she'd felt many years ago when she first fell in love with him. Hungrily, his lips closed over hers. The next morning, after the church authorities stormed into Nduke's apartment, they gave her a letter to sign. She signed it without reading it, without hesitation. She knew what it was. The bishop and the church are angry for what you have done. And therefore, you are suspended for 10 years. I know. You don't need to suspend me. Expel me from church. I don't wanna be here anymore, it wasn't my will. She said and stood to walk away. You are to leave this place in the next 48 hours. You're not to be seen close to the church premises. One of the church officials said. They expected an argument, but she only nodded and walked away. As they stepped out of the house and slammed the door, a woman's voice called out her name stridently. Nduke. Her heart trembled when she knew it was her foster mother's voice. She'd wondered how her mother knew the pastor's quarters. She inhaled sharply, and opened the door. Mom. She called out with a forceful cheerful grin. She pushed her off. The news of the suspension got to me yesterday. Ndukabong, you have caused me shame. She said, looking at her protruding stomach. Lady Irene was dressed in a buba blouse and a loose wrapper tied around her waist. Her head tie, not properly tied. Look at you, your father and I raised you well, despite the fact you were not our biological child. I have now seen that blood is blood. If you were my blood, you would not have been this loose and wayward. Mom, I thank you for all that you've done for me. I went to Rhapsody on scholarship. You forced me to apply for that scholarship. You forced me to do everything I never wanted to. You adopted me when I was 16, you adopted me because you had no child. I thank you. And I am sorry I couldn't pay back by making you proud. But whatever you think about me right now, it should be positive. I am still the good girl you knew. I fell in love. Love did this to me. Her mother laughed softly and hugged her. I knew that there was more to this. Tell me, she said softly. Nduke held her foster mother's hands and walked into the room where she'd arranged her box and piled her clothes. She told her mother everything that led to her circumstances, but she didn't tell her that her late foster father had raped her several times in the past. Her mother studied her expression while she talked. She seemed to age before Nduke's eyes. Her shoulders sagged, pain filled her eyes when she heard Nduke said she was relocating to London. Uduak came to an abrupt halt when Inibehe called her name. He was sitting on an high stool in his large dark sitting room. I want us to talk, he said calmly, but boldly. Uduak walked slowly to where he stood. What? She asked rudely. Please sit. She settled on a couch, facing him. I am so sorry. He choked. Uduak lifted her face and stared at him in amazement. I wouldn't have come into your life at first. I would have followed my heart and not just try pleasing my late mother who is never gonna come back to life because I'd married you. It pains me so much that I was used to cover up her dirty secrets. It pains me deep that I'd wasted 2 years of my life and yours, being married to a woman I never loved. He paused for a moment. Nduke is pregnant for me. I know. She retorted abruptly. She is my first love. I know. And I want a divorce, because I am not happy. You're not happy. I don't know about that. Divorce is a sin. The Bible says it. A divorced person can't marry someone else until they die. God hates divorce. We were never married. Vows can be broken. Not matrimonial vows. They can never be broken. The Bible. Everything in the Bible isn't true. Our marriage was never ever recorded in heaven. You and I can't keep pretending to be married. I have tried my best, and I am seeking for a divorce. He said and took piles of paper from his laptop and handed to her. You have to sign this urgently. Uduak chuckled. Do you believe that I can sign that shit? I'm so sorry I won't divorce you, not for that whole Nduke. Do not get me angry. I don't like her to be insulted by anybody, not by you, Uduak. Where did you get this braveness from? You've suddenly turned bold and brave since that girl got posted to our church. Did she use charms on you? Uduak, please sign this paper and let's free ourselves. Uduak's heart got filled with anguish as she stood up and walked away. Uduak, you have to sign this. Inibehe yelled. But she took her car keys and drove off to Bishop Charisma's house. As soon as she got to his house, she walked straight to his room, and when she heard the shower running from the bathroom, she knew he was having his bath. She stripped herself naked and walked into the bathroom. When he felt the presence of someone in the bathroom with him, he could sense that she was the one. She hugged him backwardly while the rushing water from the shower fell on them. I made a mistake. I should have loved you more enough to damn what my own father would have thought. But I felt I owed a younger person that privilege. She said softly. He'd missed her so much. And on the night he'd made love to her, thinking it was for the last time, he'd cried like a baby, filling her body with his warm tears. He was backing her, while her breast pointed at his back. The only thing she could think of was how badly she'd like to slide her hands across his chest and pull him closer. I really missed you, Charisma said. Me too, She whispered. I heard a female pastor was suspended for fornication in your church. She is pregnant with her husband. He seeks divorce. Charisma turns immediately to face her. Inibehe was sleeping with his assistant pastor. She nodded softly. He kissed her on the lips and withdrew his lips immediately. He doesn't deserve you. Oh no. I wonder how Bishop Cosmos is going to feel when he hears this. He said. He doesn't know yet. Just the two of us know. If he seeks divorce, grant him. Take over the church and be mine. He said. Kissing her again. I would like to have your hair wild, tumbling around your shoulders. I'd like it even better, spread on my chest. He said sensually. Uduak removed the hair ribbon that tied her hair to the back and allowed the curls to fall bountifully on her shoulders. Uduak thought it wasn't the right time to eroticize the moment. She thought of how she was going to divorce Inibehe. But she suddenly had a picture of Bishop Charisma making love to her in her head. She pictured him naked beneath her, their bodies pressed together, was a little more than she felt prepared to handle. He kept looking at her and rubbing his body to hers. Her stomach was turning somersaults. I'm sorry, I was just not myself last night, Uduak said hurriedly. I should not have behaved as I did. Charisma interrupted softly. The deed has been done already. We made love last night and I haven't regretted it. He walked close and grabbed her from behind, kissing her hair, down her neck. She couldn't resist him. It had been so long since Uduak felt desired, and right at that moment, she needed Charisma just as he needed her. She looked away when he tried to unzip her dress. We are in your sitting room. The security man might walk in and see us. And you know that he knows who I am. You're the ex-wife of Inibehe Okoko. Please get it in your head now that you were never married to him. She turned to face him. Her eyes met his. A sense of hopelessness ripped through her heart. She was reminded again of Inibehe, who had asked for a divorce the previous night. Her heart became strong like a stone. If Inibehe could cheat on her, then she had too. She drew in a quiet breath. His eyes came back to her. You have found yourself a new husband. Me? The quiet statement was like a bullet through Uduak's brain. Not for one moment did she doubt what he said, but she was afraid it would break her parents' hearts. But she needed to follow her heart too. He started removing her clothes when the door suddenly clicked open. Jesus Christ! Bishop Cosmos exclaimed when he saw his daughter-in-law and his colleague together. He stared at them in appalled horror. To have thought his late wife was right about choosing a virgin wife for their son, he was heartbroken. But he summoned courage and began to speak while Charisma pulled his trousers back up. I have called your lines, Charisma, but you've not picked my calls. I am disappointed. A bishop of my church fornicating with my son's wife. Abomination. Your son started it first. Your late wife started it first. Uduak said bitterly. The girl who was suspended recently has your grandchild in her womb. Your son Inibehe was committing adultery with her. Bloody lie. None of my sons can ever do that. Their mother and I raised them well. Uduak gave a bitter laugh. Your family tries to use the church to cover up their messes. Your wife was a whore. She slept with my father. You raised a male whore for a son. May the Lord forgive you, the bishop said. He walked out boldly. Choosing a wife for his son was his worst regret. He drove to his office and wept bitterly for a long time. The unforgettable Sunday came when Inibehe wore a suit and bow tie. He stood at the mirror, staring at his image. He stared at his Bible and whispered, I am still your servant, O Lord. I must not bear the name pastor, but I will still worship you and love you. Stay with me at this moment. He drove to church after discovering Uduak had signed the divorce papers. He had invited almost all the bishops and senior pastors to what they thought was a program. When Inibehe walked to the podium, the church gave a loud round of applause. He looked at the choristers, the bishops, the pastors, and the congregation. His eyes searched for Uduak but couldn't find her. He looked at his father for several long moments. He took a deep breath. Today, I gather you all here to officially say that despite the fact I have Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, from today henceforth, I, Inibehe Cosmos Okoko, cease to be referred to as Pastor Inibehe. Murmuring erupted as his father stood immediately. He couldn't believe his ears. Inibehe continued in a quiet, relentless voice. I am now as ordinary as everyone out there, yet still loving the Lord. I no longer serve as a pastor of Rhapsody Ministries. Uduak Ibib and I are officially divorced. The church began to scream no. 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 Some bishops shook their heads as they watched him walk out with his Bible. Bishop Cosmo stood frozen. He went to Inibehe's office and found him weeping. But instead of anger, he walked toward his son and hugged him tight. Your mother and I did a terrible thing to you. We thought we were right. There are things I just found out. It breaks me as a man. You are a brave man, Inibehe Okoko. Inibehe knelt before him. Bless me, Father. Bishop Cosmos laid hands on his head and prayed with wonder in his voice. Uduak's mother stared at her daughter. You knew this a long time ago and covered it up for your selfish interest. What would I have gained from telling you Dad was having an affair with the late Valerie? Shame to you, her mother said. The bishop already knows about you and Charisma. You should leave town. Go to Lagos and stay with my sister. Uduak nodded but wouldn't leave without telling Bishop Charisma. Meanwhile, Inibehe arrived in London with deep joy. When he saw Serena from afar, he called her name. But she was crying. What is the matter? Where is Nduke? He asked. His heart was heavy with fear as they approached his house. When Serena finally spoke, her words shattered him. She is dead, Serena said through tears. Inibehe's head exploded. His heart shattered. He fell unconscious to the floor, seeing only Nduke's face. Serena's loud scream woke Inibehe. He stood immediately. Which hospital is she? St. Anne's Hospital on Ocean Road. They ran to catch a cab. At the hospital, Inibehe threw money at the driver and rushed inside. I want to see my wife. Her name is Nduke. Calm down, sir. A nurse will take you to her room, a white lady said. What happened to her? She had abdominal pains. She will be fine. Inibehe turned to Serena. She will be fine. I thought. But you said she is dead, Serena said to the nurse. The nurse looked confused. No. I thought you asked for Nduke. Nduke is the white lady who died this morning from food poisoning. Inibehe laughed through tears. Serena's accent had caused the confusion. She pronounced Nduke as Nduke. You mean she is alive? Of course. She's in room 508. When they entered the room, Nduke was sleeping. Her stomach faced the ceiling. Inibehe kissed her forehead, then her stomach. She opened her eyes. Why are your eyes wet? Is everything fine? The nurse said something. I thought she meant you. There was joy as they stayed together. That day, Nduke was discharged. Dr. Francisca told her she would be due in 2 months. Inibehe started buying baby clothes and preparing the nursery. Siphon called to invite him to her wedding to Laura Dixon in 5 months. By that time, Nduke and I will be married too. Your niece will be around by then. Niece? She's pregnant. Yeah, Inibehe replied excitedly. The morning Timaro was born was also the day Uduak wedded Bishop Charisma in Lagos. But Inibehe was less concerned. He was in the delivery room when Nduke gave her final push. She looks like me, he said excitedly as he watched the nurses clean the baby. She is so pretty, just like you, my love, he said to Nduke. 2 months later, Inibehe prepared for a perfect garden wedding. Pastor Mfon promised to join them in holy matrimony. On the wedding morning, guests gathered under a decorated canopy. Nduke wore an ivory wedding dress with a white crown. She kept her gaze on Inibehe as she walked down the aisle. "Will you, Inibehe Cosmos Okoko, take this woman to be your lawful wedded wife?" Nduke forced a smile, gritting her teeth against the emotional lump in her throat. She watched Inibehe make his vows in a deep voice that throbbed with commitment. After they exchanged rings, Pastor Mfon concluded, "I now pronounce you man and wife." There was joy as loud Nigerian gospel music played. They held hands and danced out to the reception. Later, Bishop Okoko called requesting to see Timaro. "I want to see my grandchild and my daughter-in-law." There was joy in his tone. In a few months, Siphon would marry Laura. The families would kneel before Bishop Okoko, and he would bless all his children. He would name Timaro Idiongsain and dedicate her to the Lord. Nduke and Inibehe would relocate to London, where they would be in each other's life forever.